In this video, I'm going to give you lots of tips, millions of tips, on how to get the best possible score in the reading part of the Cambridge exams. So we're looking at the first certificate, the Cambridge Advanced and the Cambridge Proficiency. I should always remember to call them by their new names, which is the B2 First, the C1 Advanced and the C2 Proficiency. This video is part of a series of videos that I'm making to help people with the Cambridge exams. So I recommend you watch my previous videos and that you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss future videos that I'm going to be making about the Cambridge exam and other subjects I talk about that may help you with your English. So let's do this. Now, before we look at the individual parts of the reading paper, I want to give you 5 important general tips which are really worth emphasizing. The first one you will know if you watched my previous video on how to get the best score in the use of English, is that you need to leave yourself as much time as possible for the reading part of this paper. As you know now, the use of English and reading are in the same paper, so time management is extremely important. So you need to do the use of English in maximum 30 minutes, preferably 25 if possible, to leave yourself as much time, 1 hour at least, for the reading. There's a lot of reading to do. The second tip is start with part 5. Again, when you receive the exam paper, you'll see parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if it's the advanced. I recommend you start with part 5, which is really the reading paper, and then do the use of English, which are parts 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the end. In fact, I would recommend you do it in this order. So 5, 6, 7, 8 if you're doing the advanced. The first and proficiency don't have 4 parts of the reading. And then you go back and do it 4, 3, 2, 1 for the use of English. Why? You may be asking. Well, it's possible you will run out of time. Time is very limited in this paper. So it's better to finish on the multiple choice in the use of English. You can do that quickly. If you're running out of time and you have a lot of text to read, it's very difficult to do that quickly. The third general tip I'll give you is that you have to prepare by reading. I know many people don't read much these days, but it doesn't necessarily have to be books, big books. Just read anything and everything. Articles that you're interested in on the internet, magazines, anything, but you need to get a habit of reading. It's really the best way to prepare. Number 4 is you need to realize that there will be vocabulary you don't know in the reading part of the exam. And that's fine, don't worry. That's deliberate. They don't expect you to understand every word. It's not a test of your vocabulary necessarily. It's a test of your comprehension. So don't panic if you don't understand all the words, that's normal. And the last quick tip is, in each part of the reading paper, it's very important to read the instructions, because they will often give you a lot of information. In each part, the instructions start, you are going to read about, etc., etc. And that's preparing you for what you are going to read. So in this case, it's important to read that. And the title. Pay attention to the title of the text. Again, it prepares you for what you're going to read. It gives you an idea. Okay, let's go into some detail on how to do each part of the reading. So the first part of the reading is part 5 of the exam, and it's multiple choice. And as you can see, there is a lot of text. So I would recommend that you read the text relatively quickly, but at the same time try to absorb what you are reading. So that's where the practice comes in handy. Really read as much as possible so you get the habit of reading more quickly, but understanding what you're reading and absorbing the idea of the text. Now, the question order in this part coincides with the paragraphs. So the first question often relates to the first paragraph, the second question to the second paragraph, etc. Maybe there'll be an extra paragraph with no question, but it goes in that order. Except sometimes the last question, question 6, which is often just a general comprehension question about the text overall. These questions will be trying to trick you. They'll make you think you know an answer, but it's not really the correct answer. But you've seen a word that looks like a synonym to the word in one of the options. But be very, very careful. You need to always think twice. and check your answers. So that's the way you need to think when you're doing this part of the exam. You need to find the exact answer, not just something which sounds right or could be right. No, you need to identify words and phrases which really answer the question. Okay, let's go on to the next part of the reading. Okay, this is part 6 in the Cambridge Advanced, the C1 Advanced, but it doesn't exist in the first certificate, the B1 first, the B2 first, or the Proficiency. So if you're preparing for those exams, then you can skip to the next part. And in this part you will see 4 texts from 4 different writers on the same topic, and you need to compare their opinions. Okay, so read the text relatively quickly as before, but then read the questions very carefully, because the questions here are equally as important as the text, and they can be confusing. So it's very important to understand the questions as well as possible. And you may need to read the text a number of times, because you're going to be cross-referencing what the different writers have said to find the answer. And that's fine, just keep going back to each paragraph and try to really get an idea of what the opinion of each writer is. So now part 7, or part 6 for the first and Proficiency. Now here you have a long text with 6 paragraphs removed. 7 in the Proficiency, 7 paragraphs are removed in the Proficiency, and you need to put those paragraphs into the correct gaps. But there is one extra paragraph, which makes this a lot more difficult, of course. So what's the best way to do this part? Well, again, I recommend you read the whole text and then read all the paragraphs, the extra paragraphs, and then go back and look at the text in more detail, but focusing on the last line of the previous paragraph to the gap and the first line to the following paragraph to the gap, and look for key words which can help you find the best paragraph to fill the gap. And then read the text, that part of the text again, with the last line of the previous paragraph and the first line of the following paragraph, and just check it all makes sense grammatically and logically, chronologically, that it all flows. Now when I mention the keywords, what kind of keywords? Well, often pronouns. If you see the pronoun he, she, it, they, etc., then those pronouns are referring to something or somebody. So you need to check in the paragraph, what are they referring to, or who are they referring to? And then you can see that it flows naturally, that it all makes sense. But other keywords could be linking words like however, therefore, as a consequence, words like before, after, later. All of those words can give you a lot of clues of where the paragraphs fit into the rest of the text. This part of the exam benefits from a lot of practice, as all of the exam really, but this part in particular, the more you practice, the more you get this habit of identifying which words are more important, which are the key words. Now let's look at part 8, or part 7 for the first and the Proficiency, and this is multiple matching. So here you need to match 4 to 6 short texts to 10 questions. And there are 2 options for the method you want to use to answer this part of the exam. You can read the 10 questions first and then look at the texts, which is what Cambridge want you to do. That's why they put the questions first. But you can also read the text first and then go back to look at the questions. You need to practice and find what's best for you, because different students, in my experience, have different preferences, and it really depends on the student. So here you need to look for synonyms, because you're trying to identify similar ideas in the text, but they may not be literal synonyms. They may not be synonyms by definition of the word, but maybe synonyms in the context. Also look out for negatives. Sometimes in the question there'll be a negative and it's not clear in the text if it's a negative or a positive, because the word that makes it negative may come earlier in the sentence. So it's really focusing and paying attention. Now, as I said, the key words are very important here, the synonyms. In some cases you may not know the key words, and that's a problem because they're key words, they're important. But try not to worry. You need to use your common sense, use the context, and to make an educated guess. You've probably been studying English for a long time now, so you should have some kind of instinct. You should be able to to guess what the meaning of some words are from the context and from your common sense. So again, don't panic. Stay focused all through this part of the exam. It's very important to be focused all the time. Okay, as always, let me know in the comments if you have any extra tips that you can share with people, because I think it's great to help each other, because you have experience that I don't have of actually preparing as a student for these exams. So yeah, thank you for joining me again, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.